How's it going, everybody? This is Alex Caceres, and you're listening to Story of the Fight.
What is up, Will?
What up, what up?
Welcome, everybody, to Story of the Fight. My name's Romero. That's my boy, Will, and this is where we talk all things combat sports. Today, we'll be covering UFC 309. Maybe we'll talk about Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson a little bit. Who knows? But before we get going, I do want to remind everybody, please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Goes a long way. If you don't like watching through YouTube, but you like listening through other channels, they could do that as well, right, Will?
Yeah, it's at Story of the Fight everywhere, but we're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts, anywhere podcasts are found. Our socials, go to storyofthefight.com. It'll list all of them. At Story of the Fight on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Reddit, Twitch. Blue Sky is finally popping off. We had that for a minute, so maybe we'll start posting there as well. Yeah, a lot of people are leaving Twitter to go to Blue Sky right now. They've gained like millions and millions of followers in the past week.
What? For real?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. All right. Well, then maybe I download Blue Sky.
Maybe.
All right. Sounds good. Well, hey, we got a lot to cover, man. We can go and get right to it with UFC 309, Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic. Some fights, or a fight that some people weren't sure was actually going to happen or not. They had been talking about it for a minute. Stipe Miocic coming in, every bit of what, like 42 years old? He is 42 years old.
Oh, yeah.
And then Jon Jones not getting any younger, right? We're not sure, like, after he beats Cyril Gane, is he just going to continue fighting? Is he just going to leave one and done in the heavyweight division? But it happened, Will. It went down, UFC 309.
Yeah, like you said, going into it, everyone's like, I don't know if it's going to happen because they book it after the Cyril Gane fight, and then it's a long time making that fight happen, and it's finally like booked, and then he tears his pec, and so there's a long recovery for that. In the meantime, Tom Aspinall gets an interim belt, defends the interim belt. They still do this fight. Everyone's kind of like,
what is going on?
Watching the lead up, it's like, man, the entire UFC brass just working overtime, being like, I don't know why the odds are so stacked on Jon Jones. Like, Stipe is such a big underdog. I don't know. I don't get it. And you're like, because he's 42 and hasn't fought for 3 years.
In a while. Hasn't fought in a while. He's been inactive. Yeah. It'd be different if he was active the entire time. You know what I mean?
He basically retired, and then Jon calling him out he was like, all right, that's a lot of money. I'll do that. Dude, that's basically where his career was at.
He was working at the fire station, probably just got home, enjoying a couple brewskis, saw Jon Jones call him out, and then he was like, which in Stipe language means, I guess I'll take another fight,
Money?
I'm sure he got a decent payday for it.
Oh, yeah.
Man, it would have been nice to see Stipe have kind of just run off into the sunset and have it be what it is, right? Jon Jones with the title. If he wants to fight Aspinall, fight Aspinall. If not, that's it, whatever. But, man, it was just, for me, somebody that was a big Stipe fan, watching him come back. Not that he looked awful. Not that he looked
didn't look
terrible. Great. But he was definitely looking a lot slower than I last remember him.
They talked about it in the press conference after, and Dana was like, well, he only looked like that after he ate all the body kicks. And it's like, yeah, I don't know about that. The first exchange he threw, his arms he was turning his whole torso with his punches instead of like throwing his hands, like he looked slow. And yeah, he's 42 and he hasn't fought in 3 years. Of course he looks slow.
Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is. Jon did look fantastic.
He looked amazing, man. He looked so good. I don't want to take anything away from Jon Jones. He looks like he's head and shoulders, his skill set, above anybody else in the heavyweight division. And look, that's saying something because I've been a huge Aspinall fan. We've said it since day one. Aspinall was going to be a champion, right? We've been rooting for Aspinall for quite some time. And Aspinall, I've said, looks like a middleweight fighting at heavyweight. His speed, his power, he's well-rounded. But still, man, seeing Jon Jones the way that we got to see him last night, the effortless trip,
that was cool because
his fight IQ.
Yeah, the way he hit that was cool because Jon has always thrown those like side kicks to the lead knee, right? And he threw that, and Stipe kind of lifted his leg out of the way, so he stepped past him and then was like, all right, and then just chopped him with his left arm and tabletopped him basically that outside trip off of that stepped side kick to the knee. Really cool. I don't think he hits that from on Tom Aspinall. I think part of that is because Stipe's hips and his knees are shot, and he's not limber at all. And no disrespect to Stipe, but he's been doing it a long time, and this sport is
Got a lot of miles.
in that way. Yeah, it's just unforgiving that way. And you see him on the ground, and he's not engaging his legs, and John's mauling him with elbows from the top. That makes John look very good because he is, but that doesn't happen with Tom Aspinall. This fight looks
Mhm.
very different if it's Tom across from him. It's just
Yeah.
that's the fact. Because even
Yep.
as the fight progressed, Stipe started landing on John. He did. And look at Rich on the timing on those pictures. I didn't know
Yep.
that picture was next. But it's just a very different fight. I'm not saying, like you said, I don't want to take anything away from John Jones, but part of why he looked so phenomenal is because of who was across from him. You know what I mean?
I've been one of the biggest John Jones critics for the longest time. Anybody that's been watching the podcast knows this. But
Which I don't
you know,
understand. He's such a good guy. I don't know what you're going to critique about him.
but sometimes you get these fights where you're like, why are they making this fight? And then you say, okay, this person, based off of what I know, what we've studied, should come in and maul this other person. It should be a walk in the park for this other. And sometimes it doesn't happen
True.
the way we expect it to. And we're like, okay, well, it makes them look bad. In this case, yes, John Jones looked phenomenal against an older, slower Stipe, but John Jones did what John Jones was supposed to do.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely did. He definitely did. The mauling was crazy. There was a point in the first round where he was on top, and you can hear his corner say "new rules," and he starts bam 12-6 elbow. Those were nasty. The
They should have been
front
like
kick to the
Jones
body.
elbows.
Yeah, Matt Hamill. The front kick to the body was nasty. That snap kick.
Yeah, oh yeah.
You
Hurt
could tell
Stipe a couple times.
It did hurt Stipe a couple times. Yeah, I mean, he looked very good. He was cracking. Stipe still got a granite chin. Like, Jesus Christ, some of the shots he took, even just the ground and pound in the first round, that puts people out. That was
Yeah.
crazy. He was taking on big shots. And then, the in creative fashion, just like John Jones' whole career, fucking throws that turning sidekick to the body, right to the ribs. God damn, up against the fence. He got
Brutal.
Stipe up against the fence, and he cracks him with that spin. And, drops him.
When it was live and you just got to hear it live, and
Oh, man.
it sounded
Look at
so
that,
bad.
dude. That is
But yeah,
nasty,
John
dude.
Jones, man.
Fantastic
So
shot there.
speed, power, the wrestling, his creative striking, violent ground and pound.
Takedowns were unique.
It was impressive. And to say that still at this point in John Jones' career. And so this is the thing. So when he was fighting like heavyweight, he went away from finishing fights. All his fights were going the distance. And you're kind of wondering to yourself, man, like, is he just starting to slow down? What's going on? And he's fighting young up and coming fighters in some cases at 205. Now he's in a division where, like I said, I feel like outside of Tom Aspinall, he's head and shoulders above everybody else.
Yeah.
Cyril Gahn, not as well rounded, right?
No, definitely not. And we saw that in their fight.
Volkov, Sergey Pavlovich, Curtis Blades, Jolton Almeida.
Nobody else.
I mean, what else is it? So let's say that okay, let's go to the post-fight press conference. They're asking John Jones what's next. Even in the post-fight interview, he's like, you know what? I just decided I'm not going to retire. And the crowd goes nuts. And then he's like, all right, well, who do you want to fight next? And he's like, well, we'll get with Uncle Dana. We'll get with Uncle Hunter, right? And we'll see what it is that they decide to do, what we decide to do. And I mean, at the post-fight press conference, then he says, I don't want to fight a Tom Aspinall. Being very honest about it.
Yeah.
Very honest. He says he wants to fight with Pereira.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I mean, at that point, then lose the belt. Ditch the belt. If you're turning down the interim champ in your division, then you got to lose the belt. I'm fine with him fighting Alex Pereira.
Which he said, I don't care about the belt. He said.
Yeah. Yeah. So if that's the case, then do it. If you're the UFC,
I don't want to see it.
I'm fine seeing it, but I would rather see the Tom Aspinall fight at heavyweight, if I'm being honest. But yeah, if they're gonna do that, Two things have to happen. He has to relinquish the belt, and I think Pereira has to fight Ankalaev before that fight happens. Like, we can't.
Shout out to Ghost. Thanks for joining us, Ghost. Really appreciate it. Yeah.
What's up, boys? I can't stay long, but that was awful hyperbolizing by the broadcast crew. What is new? That is their bread and butter.
He says, I love that people are saying that Tom has no chance. Maybe both John and Tom should agree to fight to test that theory, right?
It's almost like that's the whole game.
and look, so again, if he doesn't fight Tom Aspinall, he says he doesn't care about the heavyweight belt. He relinquishes it. Not a big deal. He wants to fight a legacy fight. Pereira is a huge name right now. Some would say probably the biggest star in the UFC at the moment. John Jones being able to say, I beat another person that y'all consider to be the best of the best. Huge for his legacy. But look, for me as a Pereira fan, I don't want to see that. And I'm just thinking of it strictly from being a Pereira fan.
Well, I mean, stylistically, that's an easier fight for John, obviously, than versus the Tom fight. The problem is like this whole legacy thing, this whole legacy talk is like eventually the legacy of John for some people will be, but he ducked Stipe or Tom the whole time. If he fights again and it's not Tom, that'll always be a thing of, but he didn't fight Tom when they could have made that fight multiple times, and he didn't, and he chose two other people.
Was it 3 or 4 title defenses for Stipe? That's the record. 3.
I believe it was 3.
So what would be bigger for John Jones' legacy? That he defends a title more times than Stipe and goes down as the record holder for most title defenses in the heavyweight division, or that he relinquishes the belt, fights Pereira, and beats Pereira?
Easily the heavyweight route, in my opinion.
Right.
Because now this is one.
That's what I'm thinking.
If he beats Tom, it's only one more, and who's gonna even give him problems?
Yeah.
That's the easy route. If he just has to get past Tom. If he gets past Tom, easy money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%, man. So,
but that being said, stylistically, going back to 205, I don't know if they would what they would do with that if they do it at 205 or at heavyweight if Pereira comes up. But I that fight is a cool fight. Don't get me wrong, it's a very cool fight. But
Pereira versus John Jones would probably be one of the most viewed fights in UFC history.
Probably. Yeah, I can see that. That being said, 9 times out of 10, it's probably John taking him down and mauling him with those elbows. John doesn't take chances anymore, dude. He does what is
of least resistance.
Yeah, exactly, which is very good.
Yeah.
Coach said I DM'd Will something, but the UFC should give John or Jones Saudi sports washing money to fight Tom and Pereira on the same night after they renew a new TV deal. That's how you start a deal.
But Stipe retires.
This is like the whole crux of the entire thing of the pre-fight. All the talk from the UFC is it's crazy that he's such an underdog in this fight. People are overlooking Stipe. I don't understand it. I can't comprehend why he's such an underdog. And then post-fight, Joe's like, what are you going to do next? Is this the last one? He's like, yeah, it's the last one. And he just like walks away. He's like, what?
Dude, like,
thought about continuing this.
It was the last one on the last one.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, this is for real the last one this time.
Yeah. And I love Stipe. No pageantry, no gloves off, no ceremony, no tears. Yeah. Just, I'm done. I don't need this shit. And then just walks away. Classic Stipe. Dude. Classic.
Yeah, and congratulations to Stipe for an amazing career.
100%.
Future love Hall Stipe. Of Famer, right? He's going to go down as one of the best to ever do it at the heavyweight division. It's
probably the second best heavyweight of all time, right?
Behind who?
Fedor.
Of course. Okay.
But if you're going UFC, if you're going UFC only, then Stipe. But I mean, Fedor.
Oh man, and I hate because whenever we have this conversation, I always start thinking about Kane.
I know what could have been, dude.
What could have been?
He easily could have been the best.
Oh yeah, man.
Kane on his best night still might be the best heavyweight I've ever seen.
Regen, hey, shout out Regen. Thanks for joining us, Regen. If Tom goes on to become the greatest heavyweight of all time, it will most certainly affect John's legacy. That's a really good point.
That's the other thing.
If Tom runs the table and everybody we just named off, right? Because so we did this with John Jones. Now let's do it with Aspinall. Aspinall versus Cyril Gahn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, who you got?
Aspinall.
Volkov?
It's a fun fight. He already beat Volkov once, right?
Pavlovich?
I'm doing it again.
Already beat Pavlovich.
Already knocked
Blades? Almeida? Spivak?
Yeah, I mean,
he could also run the table.
He's already defended the belt once.
And it's not like Tom is going to be like, let me go to another weight division now and drop to 205 to be a double champ. He's a big boy, dude. That's not going to happen. He's a natural heavyweight. So he can really run the table for the next few years, dude.
Yeah. What I don't like, too, is before the fight, John was talking. He's like, why is there, like, I'm going to fight. After this, I want fun fights. Fights guys my own size. Basically alluding, like, Tom's got a huge size advantage on me. And it's like, bro, your whole career was your size advantage. What are you talking about? Like, he was fighting guys that used to fight at middleweight for a lot of his career. I'm not going to go down the road of tarnishing John's legacy or his career, because it is very impressive, obviously. But Lyoto Machida fought at middleweight. Vitor Belfort, middleweight. Chael Sonnen, middleweight. Like, a lot of those guys were much smaller than John. So for him to be like, it's not fair that you guys want me to fight these bigger guys. Like, you went up to heavyweight. No one made you go to heavyweight. You did. And you fought with a size advantage your whole entire career. So John's just so good at getting under my fucking skin, dude. He's so slimy, dude.
Hey, rare W, though, from John Jones. Did you see the whole thing with the kid that has cancer? And he ends up scoring him. So there's this kid that he met that just recently was diagnosed, right? During the press conference before the fight, he's like, hey, before we start talking about anything else, I met this kid, and, he's recently diagnosed with cancer. He's like, look at him. He's right over there. Beautiful smile. He goes, Dana, can we get him tickets? Can we make sure they're good seats? At the end of the fight, when he's walking out, that's the kid that he stopped to talk to on the way out, And I was like, hey, dude, cool. Rare W for John Jones.
Yeah. Used to be common.
Making up for some of the previous choices.
You got to chip away, dude.
Hey, how do you eat an elephant, dude? One bite at a time,
One bite at a time, dude. How do you overcome the long list of line
one good deed at a time, my friend. That's how you do it. All right. Anything else on the main event, sir?
I mean, not really. There wasn't much, to be honest. John, for still at this day and age, still somebody that people should look to just for creativity's sake, because the guy's mind in the fight is still fucking flawless.
That fight IQ is amazing. All right.
Just knowing what weapons to throw, and it's so cool.
Yeah. We will move on to the co-main event. We had Charles do Bronx Oliveira versus Michael Chandler. Iron Mike, as they call him.
Yeah, they should call him. Remember, you seen what's the movie with Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg? Other guys, right?
Yeah, the other guys.
They're like partners, right? And they're like, when his car gets stolen, and the homeless people are like, "Oh yeah, thanks to Dirty Mike and the boys." That's Michael Chandler's new nickname, and should have been the entire time. Dirty Mike, dude. Because Jesus Christ, this guy cheats so much, dude. It's crazy.
Oh man, so we'll get going. Charles Oliveira, dude. He said in some interviews before he's trying to fight more safely. He's tired of being reckless. Oliveira is known for getting popped, dropped, and then swinging and banging afterwards, and then subbing somebody. Yeah, but he's trying to be safer, which is good. Great jiu-jitsu, great takedowns. He picks up Michael Chandler, about to slam him. Chandler grabs onto the top of the octagon, still gets slammed. But something that Oliveira is really good at is dictating the pace of the grappling also.
Yeah. And like you said, if he's trying to fight smarter, a lot of times those guys, the kind of reckless fighters, when they're like, I'm going to try to start fighting smarter, they like kill the ferocity, or they end up point fighting, or like they go too far. They like overcorrect, right? Look at like Johnny Walker when he went to SPG, and all of a sudden he probably needed some refinement, right? Stop going so crazy in there. But he went so far the other way where he's just like jabbing and low kicking for 15 minutes until he gets knocked out, right?
Yeah.
He went too far in that direction. And Oliveira did not. Oliveira still, you could see him more measured for sure, but still very dangerous the entire time. Like, he didn't kill the danger factor.
His striking is still very crisp. and I think that for somebody like Oliveira that does have the foundations set in his striking, right? He probably does have the ability to still be more aggressive and be calculated at the same time.
The
But
snap
yes,
kick to the body, knowing that Chandler's
very
been
good.
gone for so long, just start digging at that body early, slow him down. We've seen Chandler gas because he throws 110% into all of his punches. So that's a great example of just smart fighting from Oliveira.
Yeah, so
Really good cage cutting. Really good cage cutting. To the point where Chandler had to legitimately run away a few times because he was just getting cut off. And he's like, dude, I
ran
need to get
away
the
a few
fuck out of
times.
here.
But then also a few times where he decided to just kind of lean back on the cage and wait on Oliveira, right? Like, hey, what way is he gonna move? Like, like juke left and right. Like, what way should I go? He would just stand there. I'll throw a leg kick, and he'd throw a leg kick and then try to move. But it was a couple times where it was kind of awkward like that from Chandler. But the thing I really wanted to talk to you about on this fight is the 5th round, Will.
Oh my god, dude. Well, up until then, so there was where he grabbed the top of the cage to defend the takedown. He grabbed the fence numerous times. He was grabbing the gloves numerous times. That should all be said before we talk about the 5th round. Just know that he was cheating for most of this fight. And Chandler, and his credit, he did defend some good submissions, but a lot of times his fingers were in gloves, things like that, grabbing the fence to pull position. And then Keith Peterson would be like, hey, get your fingers out of there. And then he'd stop grabbing, but his hand is still in the fucking cage.
Yeah.
And then there was one part even where he's standing there and Oliveira is like on a takedown and he's literally just holding the fence. And DC's like, he's just holding the fence right now. And then he finally let go. And as soon as he let go, he took him down. What is happening?
Oh, it's so funny,
But
man.
now we can talk about the 5th round.
But yeah, so Michael Chandler cracks Oliveira, right? This is the first round in the entire fight where he starts pressuring Oliveira and has that pressure coming forward, is willing to trade, cracks Oliveira, and then so he hits him with the right, and then Oliveira takes a step back. Chandler kind of moves forward, pokes Oliveira in the eye.
Oh yeah.
Oliveira's like, ow, my eye, right? And kind of starts rubbing the eye. Chandler sees it as an opportunity to start, sees it as an opportunity to start blitzing. He comes forward. They end up in the ground. Oliveira, back of the head of Oliveira's exposed, and Chandler just starts landing hammer fists right to the back of the head, back of the head.
There was no photos, and I meant to go back and grab screenshots because what was that, like 7 or 8 back of the head shots? It was crazy.
But Keith Peterson's bent over and right on top of the action, seeing this just happen repeatedly. And I thought to myself, is he going to say something? Nope.
Yeah. And
I think at a certain point, Chandler felt bad and he's like, oh, man, that's the back of the head. So he starts like angling over a little bit more to try to hit him with the hammer fist on the side of the face. But it's like, dude, you already landed 6 or 7 right to the back of his head.
Dude, I watched this one this morning because I was out last night, so I couldn't watch live. So I watched this morning, and in that sequence, I was like, dude, if fucking Oliveira loses because of this shit, I'm gonna be so fucking pissed, dude. So fucking pissed. Shout out James says, but was it good cage cutting? Ghost and Jack often says that good cage cutting is only good against a good ring general, and Chandler is not a good ring general. That's true. But he still was corralled. So he didn't have to do much to cage cut. But I've seen people do even less. You know what I mean? Watch Jeff Neal fight.
Yes. And look,
like Jeff Neal.
Oliveira survives the storm, ends up taking Chandler's back. Chandler, look at that smile on Chandler's face. He's like, hey, there's nothing else I could do. Let me go ahead and at least just slam this guy. So he just jumps back.
Put on a show.
Yeah, slams him. But the more impressive part is after he slams him, he sits up, stands back up with Oliveira still in backpack, and does it again, man.
How do you do that? Because
in the 5th round, fight's about to be over.
The first time he stood up, had to have gassed his legs. That's so hard to do. In the 5th round, in a fight that you're getting the break speed off you, and then you empty the tank trying to get the finish a minute before this, you emptied the tank at that point. And that's actually one thing I did want to give Chandler credit for is after the 2nd round, it looked like this is where people are going to give up because he was getting picked apart on the feet. Oliveira's hitting him with knees, uppercuts, long straight punches. He's taking him down at will with creative takedowns. He's taking his back. He's landing elbows from the top. If you're Chandler and you have had this long layoff in between fights and you're getting outclassed, completely outclassed and hurt by a guy who has already finished you once. A lot of people give up in that moment and probably are like, that's all I had, man.
Yeah.
That's all I had. And to Chandler's credit, big moments in the 5th round, was never out of the fight. Could have taken the easy way out a few times in this fight with Oliveira on his back trying to get chokes in. So credit where credit's due. The guy is tough as nails, and but Oliveira is just superior, man.
He's still so
He's
much fun
so
to
good.
watch, huh?
Yeah, he's so good.
So in the lightweight division, we have Islam, of course. We have Saryukian, then Charles Oliveira right after that.
Yeah.
But then you got Gaethje, Poirier, Max Holloway, Dan Hooker. What do you do next for Oliveira?
Yeah, you probably wait and see. The problem is he's lost to Islam and Arman, and they're fighting in January, right? So like, I don't know if he
tough.
gets the winner of that, if he gets a title shot, maybe he does. At lightweight, yeah, I don't know who else really has a claim. I think it's probably better if matchmaking wise, if Islam wins, right? Because he just lost to Arman, so that's a little bit tougher of a sell. But I mean, both of them are kind of tough sells in my opinion. Style wise, those are tough fights.
Yeah, but if you're Oliveira, I get it. If you say, "Hey, I'm just going to wait for the results of January,"
Oh yeah,
we're not too far away. Hopefully, there's not too much damage taken on either side, and then we set up a fight quickly after that.
yeah, because I can't see anybody else really jumping the line when you look at the rankings. Nobody really is going to jump the line in between now and then. You know what I mean? So yeah, you just
Yep.
wait and see. I don't know. The only guy who really has like an upward trajectory right now is like Moicano.
That would be fun, actually.
It would be fun, but it would also be like, what the fuck?
It would be fun,
You
but it
know?
wouldn't make much sense for Charles.
Yeah. I mean, Dan Hooker, he's on a 2-fight win streak now, so he's got some upward trajectory. But you're not gonna make
Or you just put a
Oliveira.
big fight together, Holloway versus Oliveira.
That's a big fight.
That's a big fight, big names.
Yeah.
And then for Holloway and the UFC, that would also be fun in case Holloway wins. Then you're able to say Holloway gets a shot at the title again.
Yeah, but I don't really want to see Holloway fight Islam or Arman. Style-wise, nightmare, dude.
That'd be rough. That'd be rough.
That'd be rough,
All right.
dude.
Anything else on that?
No, we can move on. Lightweight's in kind of a weird position because we had this new guard that was coming up that everybody thought was going to be taking over, and then we still pretty much have the Poiriers, the Gaethjes, the Oliveiras, the Chandlers all in that like top section. And
Yeah.
Where's Fiziev?
All right. We'll start moving through the rest of the fights. We have 8 fights left to cover. We're only going to skip a couple of fights in this card. But
a lot of them will be quick, I think, though.
Yeah. Bo Nickal versus Paul Craig. By the way, this was one of the fights in my parlay, Will.
And
it was over under 4.5 minutes for this fight. And I was like, oh, that's easy. Not a problem. Throw that one in the parlay. But yeah, your boy hit on his second parlay. A couple weeks in a row, was it? Yeah.
Oh.
I know, dude. Hey, your boy's on fire. Just 2 weeks in a row. And I'm like, but yeah, going into this, look, Bo Nickal's last fight, right? He started moving up in level of competition, I guess you could say, right? When he went up against Cody Brundage, took him a little bit longer in the first round. So seeing that he's going up against Paul Craig, who is a tough out. Yeah. And I figured, yeah, this is definitely going to go more than 4.5 minutes. Paul Craig is very dangerous off his back.
Mm-hmm. And it's one of those things where, like, if Bo Nickal takes him down, I don't think he's finishing Paul Craig, especially not early, right on top. Paul Craig's just too good at, he's just too good off his back. But I also don't think anybody's really submitting a guy like Bo Nickal. He's going to be so good on top that he's not going to put himself in positions to get submitted almost. So yeah, a good bet to go over 5 minutes, right?
Yep. And then I also took a look at Paul Craig in his last few losses. So he lost to Brendan Allen, rear naked choke in the 3rd round. He lost to Kai Bohalio due to a left cross, but that was in the 2nd round. So again, felt pretty safe with this one.
Yeah, and Paul Craig had a decent game plan of just blasting high kicks and just kill those arms, right? decent game plan. He's much taller. Bo Nickal had a hard time getting his hand over the top. He was looking for that overhand because, wrestlers want to feint the takedown into an overhand and just mix up those two different looks, right? Either shoot or fake the shot so you can land that big right hand, and they both play into each other. Paul Craig did for I don't know what necessarily why, if he's just like, I don't need to respect this because he's gonna have a hard time landing it, and I don't really care if I get taken down. Maybe that's why. Just not biting on anything. The takedown feints literally got zero reaction from Paul Craig. It's so funny.
You've said it before, though. For somebody that feels very comfortable grappling, they feel comfortable throwing a lot of kicks because somebody catches something and takes them down, then they're in their comfort zone either way, right?
Yeah, and a caught high kick can end up over the shoulder, and you could land in a triangle or something weird like that. Land in a scramble and try to sink something in. So yeah, I think he just doesn't really care. And Bo Nickal did a good job because he started throwing to the body. Because what do we always say? Like, if you can't hit somebody in the head, either they're leaning back or their shoulder rolling too well, or they're bobbing and weaving, you just start hitting them in the body. And that's what he did. He started punching him in the body, and that opened up eventually the shots up top. And it wasn't a very entertaining fight, in my opinion. But it was another step up passed by Bo Nickal. He cracked him a couple times. Paul Craig ate some big shots in this one towards the end of the fight. Literally like three big shots, maybe.
Let's see here. For Bo, was this the first time going all 3 rounds? Going to decision?
Think so. Yeah, I think so.
Right? I think it is. So, all right. He was able to go the full 15. Good for him. What do you do next for Bo Nickal, your favorite fighter?
Yeah. I don't know. Do you give him a ranked opponent after beating Paul Craig?
Maybe we get closer, I'd say. Give him one more before you give him ranked.
Yeah, I don't know what you do next, to be honest.
Right?
Yeah, I don't.
This is a tough one because you know that they're being careful with his ascension here.
Yeah,
as they should.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's just one of those things where, like, I don't really care what's next for him.
All right. In that case, let's move on. We're going to start skipping fights. We're going to cover Mauricio Ruffy versus James Llontop.
Yeah, this was a last-minute shakeup, right? Ruffy was supposed to fight a few people, I think, and they kept getting canceled. They don't have it on the canceled fight. Maybe they do. Ruffy. Oh yeah, Charlie Campbell. Yeah, see what he was supposed to fight Charlie Campbell. That's a fun fight. Instead, they give him Llontop late. There's weight issues and stuff like that, so they fight at catch weight, right? At like 160 something.
Is that a Dragon Ball on Llontop's left arm?
On Llontop's left arm? Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm guessing that's a Shenron, but
yeah, I had never.
Don't remember Shenron looking like that. But we got a Dragon Ball. Who's got the good Shenron tattoo? Is it Brian Battle has one. That's really good.
I don't even remember that.
It's a very good Dragon Ball tattoo.
I need to pay more attention to Brian Battle's tattoos, I guess.
Yeah, instead you're focusing on the guy with the fucking Uzi on his face.
Classic. But yeah, Ruffy coming in this, looking very calculated the first round, very selective on his shots. The biggest takeaway for this on me, or for this fight, for me is Llontop, very tough. Also, we talked about somebody that was good at cutting off the cage earlier. Llontop, dude, come on.
Come on.
Just followed and followed and followed. Yeah. So I don't know if Kendrick would consider Ruffy a ring general in this situation, but he really did a good job of just having Llontop follow him everywhere he was going.
Yeah,
but what were your thoughts on the fight?
Yeah, because that sets up Llontop to be reaching for punches like this, and that sets up Ruffy to be slipping punches like this. And I believe the next picture shows him countering off a slip with a big shot.
Ruffy looks bored in that picture.
It looks like, dude,
like he's about to fall asleep.
Yeah, I think the next picture is the one. Yeah, so like he's slipping that shot, lands the big shot. I mean, yeah, it was basically, this guy's going to keep walking at me, and I'll keep slipping his punches, and I'll start cracking him. And that no-look left hook is fucking sick, dude. And against somebody else, that's a knockout. But Llontop, like you said,
so tough.
He could take a punch.
It's rough, though, right? When, like, you have a fight and some of the biggest takeaways are like, hey, this guy's really tough. Because that usually means you got beat up and you didn't go down.
And he did. And he did.
Yeah. Yeah, so good showing for Llontop in the sense that he's very tough. He can put on exciting fights, but Ruffy's looking
He's
very
looking good. And
crispy.
I've seen some people kind of dogging this one a little bit, saying like he should have finished on top, but he's tough. And then they're up in weight,
Yeah.
It's harder to put somebody away up in weight. But yeah, it's a good fight. It was decent
All
to
right.
watch, I guess.
Yeah.
It was okay. It was okay to
It,
watch. There were some cool highlight reel moments for Ruffy to put on his reel, but yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing him fight up and someone who's not going to follow him. Someone who's
yeah.
going to mix it up a little bit more. I want to see that.
Yeah. So not one that you're gonna go back and rewatch, huh?
Probably not.
All right. All right. We can move on. This is where we kind of start flowing through the fights now, Will.
Yeah,
But we had Marcus McGhee versus Jonathan Martinez.
I fucking love Marcus McGhee. We've been high on him since he was first starting to get noticed. He's very fun to watch, and Martinez is also someone who brings a lot to the table. And so this was a fight I was very much looking forward to. And it was kind of weird. Martinez just kind of never really got into gear until the third round. The first two rounds, I don't know. It's one of those things where like, yeah, I don't know. He just never really got anything going early in the fight, and McGhee was just moving in and out. He's landing that 3-2 combo over and over and over again. That lead hook to
Dude,
the
that's what I
left straight.
loved about McGee in this fight. The
Yeah,
combinations, constant combinations. When he was coming
yeah.
in, he wasn't just landing one shot and then pop it back out. He kept
Hmm.
on pressuring and pressuring, which from McGee in the first 1.5 rounds, especially,
Yeah,
when you're going up against somebody like Martinez that has those deadly leg kicks and you're able to come in and blitz and continue pressure forward, Jonathan Martinez at that point can't set and respond
yeah,
with the leg kick. Now,
exactly.
as later in the second round and the beginning of the third round, now McGee starts popping and stepping back, giving Jonathan Martinez an opportunity to then land that leg kick. And then you start
100%.
seeing McGee saying, like, oh crap, this hurts. Starting to
Yeah,
switch stances a little bit more. That he couldn't really push off that, was it the left leg, the right leg that really
right
got
leg.
chewed up? He
Yeah, right
couldn't really
leg.
push off of it, right, to land some big shots, so there was less power on McGee's shots as soon as the 3rd round, started.
Yeah, and one thing that is an interesting dynamic, I don't know how much it played a part here, but when you're fighting a guy like Jonathan Martinez, the game plan is basically built around his leg kicks. That's like his best offense. He does it in every
Yes.
single fight. How are we going to address that? And if it's
Multiple,
forward
fights
pressure,
stopped, right, due to leg
oh
kicks
yeah,
for
oh
Martinez.
yeah, and I mean they're debilitating, right? You saw it in this
Yes.
one, but if your game plan is focused around either not letting them set up the leg kicks or countering the leg kicks, or it's just you're factoring in the leg kicks and they're just not throwing them in the first half of the fight, you start to get comfortable in that, and you think, oh, I don't need to worry about he's not getting his leg kicks off. I'm good like this. I can keep doing this,
Yeah.
and all that time you spent game planning for a certain weapon starts to kind of fade out as you're getting comfortable in there because you're not even seeing it. And then as soon as Martinez starts throwing it and getting him off, you're like, "Oh fuck, I forgot that was the game plan. It was built around the leg kicks. Here's the one that really hurt him in the third round, I mean, it completely hobbled him.
Yeah.
I think the next picture is him hobbled over. He backs up to the fence, and then Martinez clinches him against the fence for like a minute, dude. Look at the time on the clock there. Go back one
Yeah.
picture, Rich, for me. 3:20, 3:30 is when he kicked him, and then they're in the clinch at 125 or 157, and they were in the clinch for even longer after this. And you're just like, what? What are
So
you
you're
doing, man?
saying Martinez, you see him hobbled over, make
Why are
him
you
come back to
clinching?
you, or just continue to strike, right? Take advantage of the fact that he's hurt.
Yeah, don't clinch. In a
Yeah.
fight where you're down 2 rounds, you need a finish here.
You need to finish.
Which is
Yeah.
funny because the same thing happened to, I mean, different, right? But O'Malley when he had his leg hurt against, or his foot hurt against Sukumta, and
Oh,
and he gets clinched and taken down and stuff when he can't even stand up, and you're like, "What are you doing?" And McGee's one of
yeah.
his training partners, and the same thing happened to him. When in this clinch, he's probably like, "This is great. This is
Yeah.
great."
Yeah, yeah. He's thinking, "Oh, thank God.
Yeah,
Let this pain subside a little bit while he just got me pressed up against the fence." But
exactly.
another great performance from McGhee. He now moves to 10-1. Is
Yeah,
that 3 straight wins in the UFC?
I think it is, dude. I
One,
think it
two, three,
is
four,
for
four
the
straight
UFC.
wins. in the UFC. Yes. So,
First time
man,
going to decision
he's on a
too, huh?
roll. He is on a roll. Yeah, it looks like it.
First time even getting to the 3rd round in the UFC. So,
Wow.
yeah, I
Great
like McGhee a
performance.
lot, man. He's got a great YouTube
Great
channel too.
performance. Does he?
Yeah, very good. People
What
should
is it,
check that out.
skating?
A little bit of skating, a little bit of cooking, a little bit of fight stuff.
Oh, a
Good
little
stuff.
bit of everything.
Yeah.
Renaissance man. I like it. All
Beast
right.
on the grill, dude.
We will move on. We also had somebody that's been fighting forever, it seems like. Yeah, boy, Jim Miller versus Damon Jackson.
Fucking love Jim Miller. How can you not love Jim Miller?
Oh,
Oh, that's the end of this slide, looks like.
yeah, that's John Jones versus Stipe. But so Jim Miller coming in here again. So many fights on his resume already, going up against Damon Jackson, and Jim Miller also looking a little slow with
I
some of the
mean,
shots that he was throwing.
well, I think part of that is because Damon Jackson looked super fast to start this fight. He was moving around like crazy. He's throwing that front kick over and over again. Like he was kind of spazzing out a little bit in there. And Jim Miller was like, God, dude, I still got to
being
get
chill,
limber, man.
being chill. It might be one of those situations, though, similar to like what you said with John Jones, right? Like part of the reason that he looks so fast is maybe because he was going up against somebody that looks so slow.
Yeah.
But Jackson looked a little sloppy and a little desperate for some takedowns, which put him in some bad positions throughout the fight.
Yeah. And you could tell they made a read that Jim Miller likes to duck his head when he's throwing his overhand or something like that. And that's probably why they were kicking up the middle and trying to throw that knee up the middle. But yeah, like you said, he was getting a little reckless as the fight went on, and he ended up kind of in a weird position on a single leg or something. And then Jim Miller just fucking snatched him. Snatched him, dude.
Yeah, and Dustin Poirier then tweeted, "You miss
Did he?
every gilly you don't jump."
Did he?
Yeah, you miss everyone you don't jump. He said. So.
I mean, Jim Miller's got a nasty one, huh?
Oh,
That
dude.
was
So
that was rough, dude.
okay, so just to describe a little bit of what happened in case you didn't see it, we have Jackson that goes in for a sloppy takedown, ends up putting his head right on this what was left side of Jim Miller. Jim Miller just
Hmm.
gets one arm under and locks his hands, jumps straight back for the gilly. And I'm telling you, within like 2 seconds of him jumping it, you see Damon like lift his hand up a little bit, ready to tap. And he's
Oh
like, wait,
yeah.
I think I have a couple more seconds. So he kind of tries to push forward to alleviate some of the pressure, but it kind of just helped Jim Miller in this case crank a little bit more. And you just saw the
Just
stretch get really
crumple
bad.
him, dude.
And then he tapped after that. So
Yeah,
really beautiful guillotine.
that's Jim's 5th guillotine win in his career.
You ain't never gonna stop jumping those gillies, dude. Fantastic job from Jim Miller, dude. Very, very nice.
Yeah.
Still doing the damn thing, huh?
Yeah, he wants to get to 50 fights. It's crazy, man. Damon Jackson retired. One thing he said that didn't get
Awkward retirement.
awkward retirement. I guess he declined an interview, which I understand. You know,
Maybe he did. Maybe
you
he
lose
did.
like
Who
that.
knows?
They said on the broadcast that they
Yeah, I know
asked in
John
the
Anik
cage,
said.
but true.
But they might have been like, "Hey, dude, can you move out of the way?"
Play
'Cause,
the X Files music.
but you know,
We got Romero conspiracy
usually
theory stuff here.
what it, yeah,
Yeah.
usually what ends up happening is Joe will notice it and say like, it looks like he's laying down the gloves. Hey, we'll get to you in just a second. Like
Yeah.
I've heard him say that multiple times when he sees
Mhm.
people that are taking their gloves off, just letting them know like, hey, I see you. I'm acknowledging the fact that you're about to retire. Give me a minute. In this case, Joe looks over, sees it. He's like, yeah, do whatever. Hey, Jim Miller, what a
Yeah.
finish, my friend. Like, no, just they're probably like, hey, take a hike, huh?
Yeah. Man.
Damon Jackson, see you later, bud.
Catch you later, nerd.
Hey, don't forget your gloves. Grab them
Yeah.
on the way out.
Don't leave this garbage in here for us to clean up. No disrespect, Damon Jackson. You've been in some fun
No.
fights.
He has been, and actually, especially more recently, ever since he got his hair back, he had started looking good again.
Yeah. Yeah. A little like a rejuvenation going on.
Hair and fighting.
Yeah. They go hand in
Yeah.
hand.
All right, so we'll move on, man. We'll go to the next one. We had Onama versus Romero.
Onama's fun as hell, man.
He really is. Hey, Romero, though, nobody let him know that he was a plus 800 underdog coming in. Comes out with a lot of energy. There's this one jab that Onama throws where Romero slips it, comes back over, lands a big right hook, and you hear it crack, and you're like, okay, Romero's,
Dude,
he's
he
bringing it.
started off this fight really throwing the kitchen sink and like, just a lot of different attacks from Romero early on in this fight. You could tell he's probably like, I'm gonna take this guy by storm, and hopefully it's enough to get him out of there. And at like lower levels, it would have gotten a lot of guys out of there because he was mixing in low kicks and good inside shots and just cool techniques. And Onama really did have to kind of weather that storm a little bit. And then he dropped him at one point, right? That overhand right, or like it was a right hook, overhand right, maybe clubbing right hand that completely just took the feet off of out from under Onama. There is a picture of that. I think it's like a couple pictures in.
Ooh, look at that ponytail.
Yeah, there's the right hand, completely takes the feet out from under him, and then he swarms him. And I'm rooting for Onama. I like Onama. He got up, threatens with that anaconda choke, and then kind of after that, it was a lot of forward progress from Onama. After that knockdown,
from that point, it was
really took
Onama, just all the way the rest of the fight.
Yeah, fun stuff
but
though.
yes.
Cool combinations. He was feeling himself. He's all yelling in
Well,
there
the
and
combo
stuff.
that ended Romero at the end was a beautiful combination, man, because it was a combo, but it was a slower combo where he'd step forward a little bit, see Romero's reaction, land, and so he was waiting to see, okay, where's Romero going to be? How's he reacting? But he landed a nice little combo there to finish it at the end.
Yeah, I mean, he looked good. He looked really good. I like to see him grow because even from his first UFC fight, you're like, oh, this guy he's got a lot of raw potential, and he's starting to refine it and put together some cool combinations and weather a storm, things like that. So, yeah, I'm high on Onama.
I like it. And hey, we had a question come through from is it Rio? He said, "Hi, general question: when someone dominates a fight and the losing party does bad, is it considered a bad fight?"
I would say it's considered not a great fight, but there's things that you can take from fights like that. Depending, I mean, it really depends on like how bad the other side is, right?
Yeah.
Like there's a sliding scale maybe of dominant fights where someone didn't do well on the other side, and not just because they got dominated, but because they like were maybe outmatched or like just not quite there. You can still take something from that, and they can be entertaining. For the most part, it's usually like we didn't really need to see that.
Yep.
It's usually
And
like
look,
my line of thinking.
for the person on the losing side, they're going to consider it a bad fight. For the person on the winning side, they're going to consider it a good fight. For us, the viewers, we might consider it bad matchmaking if it's a fight that should have never been made. But it could also be a showcase for the person that comes in and puts on a great performance.
Yeah, because how many times do we see someone fight like shit and the other guy can't capitalize on that? And you're like, well, you can still take something like we talked about earlier on the card. It's like some fights, someone looks bad and then someone doesn't capitalize on it. But sometimes someone goes in there and does the job and does capitalize on it, and you're like, all right, cool. Yeah, there's still something you can take from that. And Rio says,
let me give you an example. O'Malley versus Montano. Would you consider that a good fight or a bad fight?
Bad fight.
Right? So O'Malley dominates that fight. Montano had no business being in that octagon with O'Malley.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't necessarily say it was a showcase where O'Malley showed everything that he's capable of. He just kind of just sat there, picked him apart a little bit. Part of it was Montano has a granite chin. But you didn't really learn anything new about O'Malley. He didn't finish the fight to make it a major showcase. And Montano probably now has brain damage for the rest of his life.
Hey, he hasn't lost since, I don't think. I think he's gotten like a 5-fight win streak since then.
Set him up for no way.
Maybe not since then, but he's on. Look it up. Look it up while I handle this next question. I want to know his record. Rio, because Rio says, like, say Chandler versus Oliveira. Chandler looked horrible, but got beat up for most of the time. I still, that was a frustrating fight for me. I think overall, I think I enjoyed it just because I like to see Oliveira work. And then you saw glimpses of Chandler being dangerous there when he switched southpaw as Oliveira kind of tired out in the 5th round. So it was a decent fight. It was a decent fight.
Name? I don't even remember.
Chris? It was a K.
It is Chris, right? Oh, that's okay. That makes sense.
Yeah. And then Rio says Zhang versus Lemos is another example, since Lemos is legit dangerous and Whaley shut her down with amazing grappling. Yeah. Which Yeah, like I said, it's a sliding scale. It's like a case by case basis. Because sometimes it's a mismatch from the get go, and you're like, "What are we doing, even setting this up?" And that's a bad one. And then sometimes, yeah, it just plays out like that, and you're like, "Oh shit!" You learn
It's not
something
coming
about
up.
the fighter. What was that?
It's not coming up.
Just look up
Okay,
O'Malley.
the Montano is spelt weird, so found
It's like
it.
Mutino.
Yeah.
But yeah, since then, I just got it. So he lost to O'Malley, then he lost to Guido Canetti, right? And then they cut him. And then since then, he did a grappling match, a boxing match. But in MMA, he's on a 5-fight win streak. Bulldog choke, ground and pound, KO, and
Okay,
then he
but
made a guy
not in the
retire.
UFC.
Not in the UFC, no.
Got
But
it.
he's won 5 fights in a row.
Good for him, dude.
Good
Don't
for
want
him.
to take anything away from Matinho.
No. Seems like a good guy,
Good for
too.
him. Yeah.
Yeah, we're getting off the rails a little bit.
And Rio, definitely context matters, right? 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Yep.
All right, we will move on to the next fight. We had Tybura versus Diniz.
Yeah, this was supposed to be Diniz versus Derek Lewis. Derek Lewis got sick or something, and so they make this fight. And early on, Tybura forces a takedown, and Diniz cracks him because Diniz is like an actual kickboxer, right? And he cracks him. He stays on the takedown. He ends up on his back. Does Tybura? He hits him with the slowest, most drawn out sweep I've ever seen. But it's heavyweight MMA, so of course it was like that. Yeah, this is where Diniz cracks him, and then I think the next picture is the sweep. Fucking hilarious. He's stuck with it though. He stuck
did.
with it and ended up on top. And then he beat the shit. Well, he controlled him for a while, right?
For almost 2 rounds, he controlled him.
Yeah, and then at the very end of round 2, literally like 20 seconds left, he just absolutely demolishes him with elbows. I mean, Jesus
Rains
Christ.
down elbows.
Breaks his nose here, cuts him open on both eyelids. Within like 20 seconds, he just destroyed him. And then the corner goes in and pulls him off
Picks
the
him up.
ground as soon as the fight, as soon as
Picks
they get in the cage,
up.
they pick him up and he's like, whoa. You're like, what are you doing, dude? Give him a second.
In my notes, I had down the cornermen should not be allowed to help a fighter up. I think that the fighter should be responsible for getting themselves up, walking themselves to the corner, and plopping themselves down on the chair. For a referee, if a fighter is trying to stand up and they just collapse again, at that point, I would wave it off.
Yeah.
You know? But the fact that the cornermen can come in and they're like, all right, dude, this dude's dead. Help me. Weekend at Bernie style. Pick him up. Let's walk him over. Plop him down. Diniz has probably no idea what the heck is going on at that point in time.
Dude.
And yeah, it was
not good.
It was rough to watch.
They probably could have called it there. The doctor comes in. The problem, I don't know what people's take on this is, but I think it was probably the right call to stop this fight. The problem is they stopped it by the time he was coherent again. So it looks kind of bad for some people probably. I thought it was fine though to stop it. Both eyelids were completely cut open.
Also, he asked him to walk towards him, and he had a hard time walking towards the doctor. And so Diniz can react any way he wants to after he's told that they're stopping the fight. He can react any way, oh, what do you mean? What's going on? Blah, blah, blah. Dude, you had a hard time even stepping forward towards the doctor.
Yeah.
What makes you think you're going to be able to not stop another takedown? You couldn't, when you were coherent, you couldn't stop Tybura from taking mount 2 rounds in a row.
Yeah.
And he decided to just, holy, are those balloons?
Yeah, dude, for Tybura, dude.
With the peace sign, is that what happens? I'll get, there you go. But yeah, so a couple things. Kendrick says, how do you guys watch Tybura fight not ending up wanting to hurt yourself after? Look, Tybura has apparently holds a record for most top control time in the UFC.
Sounds like I mean,
you know how you get that by getting
long,
top control,
boring fights,
not submitting them, not finishing them, and you just end up in top control for majority of the fight.
after watching, so I got home late last night. I went to a concert, got home late. I had to watch a few fights. Some of them weren't uploaded yet, so I had to watch this one. Basically, I'm just sitting there in bed looking like Diniz in this picture after watching this fight.
Yeah.
Just fucking sitting there in bed like.
Rio says, I'm with James here. Watching a documentary on how milk is made is better than watching a Tybura fight. I need to watch that.
Wait. Was this the fight? Did Tybura in the first round? I was so tired. I was tired, but did he try to mother's milk him in the first round?
What?
I think he did. I'll have to rewatch it. And
Or
Rich,
don't.
I saw
Save yourself the time.
AJJ, formerly Andrew Jackson Jihad, last night. Coolest concert I've ever been to. Fucking awesome.
Yeah?
Like, dude, look, this is a band I've loved for like 15 years, and I never thought I'd get to see him live because they don't tour that frequently, and they've since become a much bigger band. That some of that stuff I'm not super into. They used to be just an acoustic guy and a stand-up bass, and it's like a folk punk band, and they've moved away from that style a little bit. But they announced like, oh, it's just me. It's just us two doing a two-man show again for like these like 4 shows. One of them happened to be in Big Sur, and I'm like, oh fuck, that sounds sick.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it's at Henry Miller, the author. His old house from the '60s is a library down there in Big Sur, just in the middle of the woods.
Dang.
And they're doing it there, and I was like, oh, sick. And they have like a yard in the back, and we're like, well, fuck, it's gonna be 45 fucking degrees. It's gonna be tough for like an outdoor late night show. We get there, and they're like, oh no, it's inside. And we're like, oh, okay. We walk in, it's just a living room. And there's like seats. There's like maybe 25 seats in there, and we sit down. We're like, this is gonna be fucking crazy. And then they just walk out. They're like, fucking 5 feet away from us, maybe 4 feet, and they just fucking go. And I'm like, but they're not gonna play like the hectic, like old, like punk stuff they used to play because they kind of moved away from that. Nah, dude, they went fucking hard. It was so sick, dude. Probably the best concert I've ever been to. Fucking awesome.
That sounds amazing. Very intimate setting, to see some of your
cool.
One of your favorite bands. That's awesome, man.
Yeah. There's only one person in front of me and in between us. So fucking sick.
Dang, you should have told that person to take a hike, huh?
Yeah, hey, get the fuck
Go hang out with Damon Jackson, bruh. Let me sit in front row. All right. Yeah. We'll move on. We only have a couple fights left. We had Brahimaj versus McGhee Gall.
Yeah, poor McGhee Gall, huh?
Yeah, and they brought it up. They're like, hey, McGhee Gall's looking a little stiff. He's probably a little nervous. There's a lot of pressure on him. He knows that if he loses this fight, he's probably out of there. He's going to go hang out with Damon Jackson, huh? Yeah, poor Damon Jackson. I'm just tossing his name out over and over again. Hey, I like you, Damon Jackson. My bad, dude. Yeah. But yes, McGhee Gall, we all know, broke into the UFC after one professional fight from looking for a fight. He calls out CM Punk. We have Dana White that's like, you know what? I kind of like that fight. I kind of like that. And so he brings him into the UFC. We've had an opportunity to watch McGhee Gall grow in front of our eyes in the UFC.
Did we?
Yes.
We had an opportunity to watch him grow, but did he?
Oh, no.
No disrespect to McGhee Gall. I mean, he kind of did a little bit.
No, he did. He did. Compared to his first fight, yeah, dude,
he definitely did.
But
Ramiz is tough, though, man. This dude hits like a truck. The combination that finished this fight was violent as fuck, dude. And Sammy brings up a good point. Do you think McGhee Gall's development was stunted by his early bring up to the UFC?
Yes.
He probably did not need to be in the UFC at that point in his career.
Sammy, great question. I agree with you. And that's my whole point with this, right? He gets brought into the UFC after one fight to fight McGhee Gall. And then it also didn't help that he beats Sage Northcutt in his very next fight. So everybody's like, it's off to the races.
Yeah.
Right? And
what
then
a weird time
McGhee Gall is like...
He fights like Mike Jackson or something because CM Punk pulls out, right? And then it's CM Punk and then Sage, and we're like, all right, what do we got here? But the finish was very cool because he hits this left hook, and as Mickey's reaching for that overhook with his left hand, and you can see the right hand is like almost trapped inside the left arm of McGhee Gall there, and then he just pulls it out under and then over the top so fast as Mickey's reaching there, and just completely puts him down, dude. It was nasty, dude. He fell and like it looked like it would sped up when he dropped. I was like, holy shit. Maybe it's because I was sleepy.
Sack of potatoes, dude.
Yeah. And then he puts the what would you even call that hat? I don't know what that is.
I don't know.
Puts it on Joe.
He puts it on Joe. Yeah.
Turns him into Toe Rogan finally. He's become the Toe.
That's also. I guess that was his grandpa's hat. It's like, hey, Joe,
Oh,
give it back, huh?
did he keep it?
He took it and he's like, yeah, you better take care of it. That was my grandpa's hat.
Oh shit! Yeah, I didn't watch that.
Yeah, that was in the post fight presser.
Yeah,
Yeah. All
yeah.
right, and
Sammy
then
says could he have been decent, good or decent? Who knows? I think he probably would have had a. Yeah, you want a steady climb. Not everybody can skyrocket and just go straight to the UFC. Because when he went to the UFC, what was he? He finishes 7-7 in his career. When he signed to the UFC, he was 1-0, man. Pro 1-0.
yeah,
That's tough, man.
yeah.
And normally you lose a couple fights and they kick you back and say, "Hey, get some fights under your belt, and maybe we'll revisit this." Did the whole thing,
Yeah,
dude.
we've been seeing the ascension again of what's his name? He just fought last
Ruffy,
weekend.
Marcus McGhee.
No,
Oh,
no.
last weekend. I thought you meant.
Yeah.
Who knows, dude?
Why can't
It's
I
just
remember
out
his
of my
name right
mind.
now? Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's the young man that was actually booted out of the UFC. Now
Oh,
he's like on a
Zalal.
Zalal.
Yeah.
There it is. Right? Gets booted out of the UFC after a few losses, comes back, looks like an absolute world beater now. I
Yeah, it
want to
looks
say
like a
he's 2 or 3
killer.
finishes in a row. Looks like a real contender. So yeah, but in this case, dude, when you're pushing the
When all
UFC
but
so
one,
quickly,
all of one of your fights are in the UFC, that's tough, man.
dude, and at that point, if you think about it, you're Mickey Gall, and you're like, hey, my first professional fight, I beat him by rear naked choke. My second one is in the UFC. I beat him by rear naked choke. My
Yeah.
third one, fourth one, all by rear naked choke. You're thinking, dude,
Even his fifth.
I'm unstoppable. I'm
Yeah.
unstoppable.
He lost his fifth fight, but the next fight he won by rear naked choke. His first 5 wins were all rear naked choke.
And then it's a rough go after that, man.
And then his 6th win was a decision, but then his 7th and final win was also rear naked choke.
That's
So
crazy,
6 out
huh?
of 7 of his wins were rear naked choke. That's crazy. I
He's
didn't
a
realize that.
finisher.
He's
He's
a
a finisher.
finisher.
All right. The last fight we're gonna cover, Hafez versus Elliot.
Yeah, this is a fun fight. Oban Elliot is looking sharp, huh? This guy looks fucking
I
clean,
wish I
dude.
could hear what he was saying because it seemed like he was doing uh like a Ric Flair promo at the end, and then he does the Hulk Hogan little like pose, and I was like, oh,
Did
dude,
a
that
little
would have
bit
been
too
super
much.
fun.
Did a
Oh,
little
dude, I
bit too
enjoyed it.
much.
It was a little bit of a showman there, huh?
Be
At
your
the
own
end.
person. You know what I mean? No, no
But
disrespect. It's fun. It's all
maybe
fun and
his own
games.
person is being a huge wrestling fan. Maybe he just
True.
nerds out on wrestling. You know what I mean?
True, but what I
Uh,
really liked about this fight is we don't have a ton of time to talk about it, but what I really liked was the open side body kicks, and then once they close stance, he'd just say, "Okay, cool, I'll just outside leg kick the shit out of you," and just the kicks. Having an answer for both stances is it's not something that you see too often. A lot of times you'll see someone start landing good kicks, and the other person will switch stances, and then the kicks are out the window, and
yep.
then and you kind of saw that with the Martinez fight a little bit when he hurt McGhee with the outside leg kick, and then he switches stances, and then there's not really anything there. It's like go to the body now. The body's now open, and Oban Elliott clearly understands that. Clearly
Yeah.
understands that. Which is cool to see.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff.
Yeah, he
Well,
leaned right into a high kick. That's a tendency he's going to have to clean up a little bit because there was a couple times the high kick was there for Hafez, and he did crack him with it once when he threw a punch and leaned, and he ate that high kick, and then from there, I think Hafez was just trying to land that most of the fight. But yeah, he gets dropped by a big shot, and then
right on the
nasty hammer
nose.
fist. Yeah, nasty hammer fists. He goes out completely outstretched. Legs come back after the next one, and he's like, "I'm defending," and then out again. Like,
Oh,
fuck,
dude,
dude,
so rough. So rough.
brutal.
And you know how I mentioned earlier that the cornerman shouldn't be allowed to pick up a fighter when they're rocked like that. In this case,
Yeah,
I think it
dude.
was probably the cutmen that were like, "All right, let's get up," and then Hafez was like, "Whoa," and like
Yeah, I
just
think I put a picture
almost
in there.
topples over again. And I was like, "Well, that's not good."
Yeah, don't
Poor
do that.
guy.
Don't do that.
All right, but hey, those were
I
all the
think it's the
fights we're
next
gonna
picture
cover.
of him falling over.
Oh yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
Oh, it was the doctors. It was the doctors.
Yeah, what are you guys doing?
We still got Elliot posing on the side, just
Yeah,
like all
dude, that
sexy.
picture's rough, dude.
That's rough, dude. uh, yeah. All right. Well, hey, last fight we're gonna cover And now we go into moment of silence for the fights we
Yeah,
lost.
moment of silence. What did we lose? Weidman versus Eric Anders got canceled right before the broadcast. Eric Anders had an issue. Krylov was supposed to fight Mirzakhanov. Krylov finally back. Everyone's been like, where the fuck is he? People were like, did he get fucking drafted into the fucking war? Like, where is he? He wasn't posting anything on his socials for like a year. Like, everyone's like, dude, did Krylov fucking die? Like, where is he? And they finally book him, and then no, can't make it happen. Process was supposed to fight Randy Brown on this card, and then they were like, well, we don't have a main event for Apex 100, so let's pull him from that. Ruffy was supposed to fight Charlie Campbell. That would have been a banger. And then Onama was supposed to fight Almeida. That also probably would have been a banger.
That would have been a fun fight. Absolutely. Yeah. How about monies? Who made extra money?
Who made extra money? John Jones got one for beating up a retired fighter. Ramiz got one for retiring Mickey Gall. Or at least
that's a pretty cool picture.
It's a good picture. He went hard. Yeah. He was so stoked.
He did.
And then Oban Elliot got one for his knockout over Hafez.
Go back to your question, Will. Why not use the picture of him landing that right?
Show a picture of the finish. And then I think the next one is fight of the night. Is there a next
Maybe?
picture?
There it is.
Oliveira versus Chandler, fight of the night. Yeah, that 5th round probably got it, right?
Yeah, that was
Rio says Jim Miller
robbed
of a bonus. 100% Jim Miller was robbed of a bonus.
When you jump a ghillie like that?
What are we doing? To continue the most wins in UFC history? Every win should get a bonus at that point. You know what I mean?
And then Genevieve, shout out Genevieve. My alarm didn't go off. It's all good, Genevieve.
Oh, we had a bloody one too. We had a bloody one for you.
Yeah.
If you
in case you missed it, though, go back and watch. I can't believe I'm saying this Tybura fight versus Diniz, and you will be happy. Actually, you could probably forward it to 1 minute left of the second round, and you will enjoy that fight.
Yes, you will definitely enjoy that fight.
Well, hey, shout out to Rio, Genevieve, Sammy, James Kendrick, Ghost, of course, Lizzie.
Lizzie said Hamzat will kill Bo. Gilbert Burns is former world champion in black belt jiu-jitsu, former UFC title contender, fighting Kamaru, and Hamzat wrestle him to the ground. Yeah. Did he call out Hamzat? Did Bo call out Hamzat?
I don't know. I don't think so.
He gets smoked by Hamzat at this point, right?
He gets mauled.
Yeah, it's not a fight to make yet. Maybe down the line, who knows? But Bo's got to grow quite a bit.
Yep. Shout out Regen as well. Thanks for joining us again, Regen.
Shout out Regen.
Always nice. And then Ghost, of course. For anybody that joined us that I just mentioned, if you have not subscribed yet, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. The times that we go on live tends to bounce back and forth depending on life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
it's usually Sunday.
So that's why you want to hit that notification bell. So as soon as Will posts and lets everybody know what time we'll be hopping on, you get a notification. You get a notification. You get a notification. Everybody gets notified of when we are hopping on live. And let me see. What else am I missing? Yeah, like, subscribe. Oh, yeah. Where else can they find us, Will?
Yeah, at Story of the Fight on everything. You set your Story of the Fight alarms like Genevieve. Exactly. But yeah, at Story of the Fight on everything. Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Reddit, Twitch, Blue Sky, Vero, Mastodon, everything. Story of the Fight. StoryoftheFight.com. List them all. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube Podcasts, anywhere podcasts are found. Search Story of the Fight. You will find us on every platform under Story of the Fight. Check us out.
And also, if there's any specific type of content that you would like to see, we're trying to be more active on the socials. Let us know, and we'll see what we could do. But we definitely want to be a lot more engaged with our listeners, both through the live chat here, through the recaps, and also on social media. So hit us up. But big thank you to everybody. And also, I know everybody's wondering who produces this show. It's none other than Mr. Richard Bustos and the ones and twos in the background. There it is. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us for another week of Story of the Fight.